Rejected on a Christmas blind date, she sat alone, until a single dad and his daughter changed everything. The rejection arrived like a sudden winter gust, sharp and humiliating, right there beneath the glowing wreaths and soft Christmas lights, and it left her sitting alone at a table meant for two while the world around her kept celebrating without noticing the crack in her heart. She had dressed carefully, believing this night might finally be different, believing the promise of a blind date on Christmas meant hope, not silence. When the chair across from her stayed empty and the polite excuse arrived instead of a person, the loneliness pressed in harder than the cold outside. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles that arrive when we least expect them, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Grandma Dearie, right now. Stories like this live on because of hearts like yours. She was a police officer who had learned to stand strong through chaos, but nothing in her training prepared her for the ache of being unseen. The restaurant shimmered with festive warmth, garlands looping the ceiling, glasses catching the light like tiny stars. Families laughed softly, couples leaned close, and she sat straight-backed in her uniform, hands folded, telling herself to finish the meal and leave with dignity. The uniform had always been her shield, a symbol of service and resilience, but tonight it felt heavier, like a reminder of everything she had sacrificed for duty, including the simple hope of being chosen. Her mind drifted to the years that had led her here, missed holidays, overtime shifts, the quiet apartment she returned to after midnight patrols, the way friends had slowly paired off while she kept promising herself that love would wait until later. Later had arrived dressed as Christmas, and it had turned away. She stared at the untouched place setting across from her and wondered if this was the price of independence, if strength always meant sitting alone when the lights were brightest. That was when a small presence shifted the air around her table. A little girl, all bright eyes and red velvet, paused nearby with the fearless curiosity only children carry. Her joy seemed immune to the awkwardness adults carefully navigate. The officer felt a gentle tug on her attention, a warmth cutting through the embarrassment. Behind the child stood a man, tired in a familiar way, the kind of tired that comes from loving someone more than yourself and carrying that responsibility every day. He was a single father, though she did not know it yet, marked by patience, quiet devotion, and the soft vigilance of someone who had learned to be both parent and protector. The child's presence softened the room. The officer felt her shoulders relax for the first time that evening. She noticed the father's hesitation, the way he seemed ready to retreat, worried about intruding. Yet something unspoken passed between them, an understanding born of long days and longer nights, of lives shaped by duty and care rather than ease. The girl's small hand found the officer's, and in that simple connection, the loneliness cracked open, letting light seep in. As the minutes passed, the officer realized she was no longer counting the seconds until she could leave. The table no longer felt like a stage for rejection but a place of unexpected grace. The father and daughter settled nearby, not out of pity, but out of the natural pull of kindness. The child's wonder at the decorations, her excitement about Christmas traditions, reminded the officer of parts of herself she had packed away for safekeeping. She remembered believing that goodness could arrive without an appointment. The evening deepened, and with it, the sense that this encounter mattered. The officer reflected on how often she had stood between strangers and danger, how rarely she allowed herself to be vulnerable. Tonight, vulnerability had found her. Anyway, not as a threat, but as a gift. The father carried his own quiet grief, the absence of a partner, the weight of being enough for a child who deserved the world. Their struggles, though different, recognized each other like old friends. The restaurant grew warmer as the night went on, laughter rising and falling like a gentle tide. The officer felt something she had not felt in a long time, belonging. Not the kind promised by romance or grand gestures, but the kind born from shared humanity. The child's laughter stitched the moment together, turning a rejected date into a memory that would outshine many carefully planned evenings. Outside, snow began to fall, soft and forgiving. Inside, the officer understood that rejection had not been an ending but a redirection. Life, it seemed, had guided her away from an empty promise and toward something truer. She did not know what tomorrow would bring, whether this connection would grow into friendship or something more, but she knew that hope had returned, quiet and steady. As the night drew to a close, the officer felt lighter leaving the restaurant than she had felt entering it. The uniform no longer weighed her down, it felt like a part of a whole woman who could serve and still receive, who could be strong and still be held by moments of grace. Christmas, she realized, was not about perfect plans or fulfilled expectations. It was about the unexpected ways hearts find each other. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can arrive unannounced and change everything, please take a moment to like, share, and engage with this video. Your support keeps these stories alive. Before the ending, we have one special request. Please comment below and tell us if you believe that small moments can change a life.